Hello, my beautiful bundles of yarn. In today's video, I will be reviewing some cotton yarns I got off of Amazon. I'm going to talk about the fiber content and the structure of each of these yarns, as well as how much they cost, how much yarn you get in each skein or ball, and most importantly, I'm going to talk about what the heck you would make with these kinds of yarns. Every yarn is linked in the bio, so you can go check it out yourself, and I will be giving my very honest review of each of these, so stick around. The first on our yarn chopping block is the Milk Cotton Yarn by Betinyar. Now, was I more upset by the fraudulent marketing of this yarn or the terrible quality? Well, let me say both. This yarn was marketed as cotton, but obviously it is 100% acrylic yarn. It is very clear to see in the Amazon listing of this yarn, it calls out high quality cotton, and when it comes to your doorstep, it is 100% acrylic. And I should have looked at the description a little bit better, but I didn't, so I blame myself ultimately for this failure. But I am still going to review this yarn. So this is a 100% acrylic yarn in my cotton yarn video. I do not know what weight this is. I don't know how many grams there are. I don't know how many yards there are, but it feels kind of like a baby weight or a DK. I know it's 100% acrylic, and I did use a 3.5 millimeter hook to achieve an appropriate tension for what I thought this yarn should have. This yarn feels like acrylic yarn, and that's because it is. I will give it to the manufacturer because there are some pretty nice colors. I chose the blue color pack, and there are some really nice colors in here, which I've obviously already said, so I don't have a lot of nice things to say about this one. The information was really misleading, and it states cotton, but obviously it's acrylic, it's not soft, but if I really had to make something with this yarn, I would make a scrappy yarn basket. I am rating this yarn 1 stitch marker out of 10. This was a huge disappointment for me, and honestly, I will be returning this yarn to the manufacturer and getting my money back. Next up, we have an actual cotton yarn from Kinua Yarns. I got this one in the color Oregano, and this yarn will set you back $23 per hank, which is a lot of money, but this is 100% organic Peruvian cotton, and I did look into this. I made sure it is what it is. This is a DK weight yarn, and the recommended care is to hand wash and lay flat to dry. You'll get 100 grams in this beautiful hank of yarn with 186 yards total. The recommended hook size is between a 4 millimeter and a 5 millimeter. I'm using a 5 millimeter, and I think I should have sized down a little bit just because of how thick this yarn is around the hook. This yarn is strong and very sturdy, kind of like macrame cord. I wouldn't use this for any sort of top or anything like that, but it's very easy to crochet with. It glides really nice on the hook. Some of the cons are that most of their yarns are sold out on their website but available on Amazon, and you do have to wind up the hank first, so you will need a Swift and a ball winder, or at least the back of a chair and a lot of patience to not get this yarn completely tangled. This yarn would be great if you are crocheting wall hangings or home decor, or hanging plant holders or front door mats or bath mats or sturdy bags like the Etta bag by Paul Strict, which is a free pattern on weareknitters.com. That's linked in the description, as are all of the patterns. Overall, I would rate this 5 stitch markers out of 10. This really doesn't fit into what I do personally, but it is a really nice, soft, strong yarn. Next up, we've got Cotton to the Core by KnitPal. Now, I got a multicolored assortment of this yarn. I got them in the color Pink Elephant, which is a cream color, a gray color, and a pink heather color. This cost me $25 for the 3 skeins of yarn, 300 grams in total, and 654 yards in total. This is a worsted weight yarn, which is made of 65% cotton and 35% acrylic. It is recommended to machine wash and lay flat to dry, and use a 5.5 millimeter to 6.5 millimeter crochet hook when working with this yarn. This is a tube netting yarn, which means that it is a cotton netted tube that holds fiber fill in the middle of it. So it's very bouncy, very light, mostly cotton, some acrylic, and it gives this yarn a very nice fuzzy halo. I did find it very hard to center pull this yarn, so I got out my wool genie, which kind of hangs my yarn here so I can just work from the outside of the skein without having to deal with all of that annoying center pulling. Once I got working with this yarn, I noticed how lofty and soft it is. I really enjoyed working with this yarn. It was buttery smooth as it glided over my metal crochet hook, and it was really nice on my hands. Though if you have very dry hands, the fuzziness of this yarn may get caught on your hands. If you've ever had that feeling before and you want to avoid that, then I would definitely avoid this yarn. Something very interesting is that this yarn has a lifetime warranty. What that entails, I'm not entirely sure. I didn't look into it, but it was an interesting thing to note. It's very soft and snuggly, yet feels lightweight. Now, for the cons, it is a hard center pull, and there are just some very muted color offerings on the website. I wish there were some more bright tones in this color palette, but we work with what we get. I would make my cadence sweater out of this yarn. I think that the structure of the yarn would lend really well to the ridges in the sweater, and it would just work up really beautifully. My final rating on this yarn is 6 stitch markers out of 10. It is a really nice yarn to work with, and there are some projects that I would use it for, but would I use it for everything? No. I have saved my favorite yarn for last. This is the About Strings Totally Cotton number 3 Light DK yarn. And is it my favorite because we share a first name, Totally, Stitchcraft and Totally Cotton? No, I like it for a lot of other reasons, and I'll get into that. I got this in the color olive, and it was a 2-pack from Amazon, which cost me $25. You can also shop on the About Strings website, or again, get it from Amazon. This is a DK weight yarn that is recommended to machine wash and lay flat to dry. It is 100% organic cotton, and the website has more information about their certifications on that. Each ball of yarn weighs in at 3.53 ounces with 234 yards per ball. That's 100 grams with 214 meters per ball. It is recommended to use a 4mm hook, which I do have on hand and I decided to use. Now, although this is 100% organic cotton yarn, it really feels more like you're working with bamboo yarn. And if you happen to have a wooden hook on hand, I would definitely recommend using that opposed to any metal or plastic hook, just because of how slippery this yarn can be. I mean, man, those stitches were slipping off my hook as I was trying to crochet. This yarn feels soft and silky, and it's got a great shine, a nice scrape. It's very soft, very easy to use, and it feels luxurious against my skin. Now, some cons of this yarn are that the yarn splits very easily and it can be slippery. Again, I do recommend using a wooden crochet hook if you have those on hand. And another thing that is a con is that there is a very limited color range, but the color range offered goes really well with each other. So I don't think you could pick 2 yarns that didn't go together from this collection, which is really nice. I would use this yarn to make light summer blouses, dresses, bandanas, summer shawls, and in particular, I would make this City Break blouse by Hobie, which is on their website for free, or the Clover Garden shawl created by me, which uses a similar type of yarn, just a bamboo yarn in the original pattern, but I think this would work up very similar and show incredible stitch definition in whatever you're making. Overall, I give this yarn an 8 out of 10 stitch markers. That's because this yarn is so silky soft, it's easy to work up, but it is a little bit difficult if you have a very slippery hook. That is all the time we have to review yarn today. If there are any yarns that you are thinking about getting but you just don't want to spend the money on it, let me know in the comments. I'll purchase it, I'll review it for you, and let you know if it's a good yarn to use. If you feel like sticking around, I invite you to hit that subscribe button. I post almost every Friday yarn reviews, tutorials, and crochet things of that nature. I really appreciate you hanging out with me today, and I hope you learned something very valuable from my content, as in do not buy acrylic yarn thinking that it's cotton yarn. When it comes to your doorstep, then you're really disappointed that you spent your money on acrylic yarn when you thought it was cotton yarn. Well, happy crocheting!